It seems like every rideshare driver wants to go to court these days. Want to sue someone? Get in line. Let's talk about it. Welcome everyone, I'm Mark. This is Mark's Travel Time. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to ask that you click my face down there in the corner to subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell icon so you know when I post new videos. There have been some really interesting stories in the news. For some reason, it seems like there are a plethora of cases of rideshare drivers going to court. And I would like to see how you stand on some of these. The first one I'm going to read to you is from the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin. Judge denies rideshare driver's request for face covering exemption. Now let's give you a little bit of background on this. In the state of Illinois, there is a law. It was by executive order. They said you have to wear face masks. Now let me read to you exactly what this says. Cook County Circuit Court Judge Sheila Gamrath rejected driver Justin Mawakizzi. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Mawakizzi's request for a temporary restraining order that would prevent the state from enforcing the governor's emergency order against him. Under the April 30th executive order, individuals in Illinois must wear face coverings when social distancing guidelines cannot be practiced in public spaces. Okay, for a moment, I want you to forget that this is about COVID-19. I want you to forget that this is about wearing masks. The reason I'm saying that is I know this is a very divisive topic. And I know that because I did a video, a pretty innocent video on what it's like to travel during COVID-19, and I was slammed for not wearing a mask, even though it was not required by the airline. So I know this is heated, but I don't even want you to take a stand just yet. If this is how far you got in the video, I want you to ask yourself this. Is your rideshare vehicle a public place? I think that is really, really important, because if we're going to cave on this, if we are going to accept the fact that our private vehicle, in which we are independent contractors, and we operate our business, if that's a public place, we are opening ourselves up to all kinds of legislative control. We are now recognizing, identifying, and acknowledging that our vehicle is not a private car, but it's a public place. So I want to know down below, yes or no, do we consider rideshare vehicles to be public spaces? Because apparently this judge, this Cook County judge, seems to think that a rideshare vehicle is a public space. But now we can now start thinking about the face covering since we passed that issue. But I think that is something that is really, really important and significant. And if I were the attorney, I'm not an attorney, but if I were the attorney, that is a position I would have argued from. So it says here that Mawakizzi, who contracts with services like Uber and Lyft, filed the case in Cook County on May 6th. He contends wearing a face covering while driving could lead to his losing consciousness and potentially colliding with other drivers. I don't know. Can wearing a mask cause you to lose consciousness? See, to me, I think that sounds, on the surface, that sounds kind of ridiculous. That's why I said I would argue rather that my vehicle is not a public space. That's what my argument would have been. That's not the end of his assertion. He also argued he could be harmed by a rideshare passenger, so here it comes, who objects to the face covering rules, and that he could be targeted by gangs for unknowingly wearing a certain covering. I don't know. It reminds me of that old show, what was it called, The Warriors? If you've never seen The Warriors and you just want a good laugh, this was not supposed to be a comedy, but it is so absurd. It's all these gangs throughout New York City, and they all have gimmicks. One gang dresses up, in makeup like Kiss, and they wear baseball uniforms. And, another gang dresses like ninja warriors. I don't know about your experience with gangs, but I have never seen gangs wandering around the streets in all these get-ups. I have seen gang members that have, things like bandanas that, signify their colors, that kind of thing. But what is this gang that wears the face masks? And I might be wearing the wrong face mask that could trigger some kind of violence against me because of the face mask I am wearing. I don't know. You know me, I'm not a big fan of the face mask, but even I can recognize when there is a facetious argument. And I think that saying I'm going to pass out and get into a car crash, or I am going to be the victim of gang aggression because of the face mask that I choose to wear, I think it's far-fetched, personally. So I don't know. What do you think? Are the health risks of wearing a mask, do they include I'm going to pass out and I'm going to crash my vehicle? Do they include I'm going to be targeted by gang warfare? I'll leave it up to you. Let's go on to this next lawsuit that I found. So this comes from the Star Advertiser. Again, Illinois. A lawsuit filed in Illinois federal court. Ahmed Youssef said he faced retaliation after participating in an October 2018. So this is going back, well, not 2 years, a year and a half. On October of 2018, he was protesting, urging Uber and Lyft to limit the number of drivers on the road. And he was pictured in the Chicago Tribune holding a sign that said, "Lyft Uber, respect Chicago drivers." So that's the picture. That's a visual image. I wasn't able to find the picture, but apparently he's holding a sign that says, "Lyft Uber, respect Chicago drivers." 2 months later, Youssef claims he was deactivated as a driver for the standard UberX service. 6 months later, now this is what I'm not getting. He was deactivated 2 months later. 6 months later, he bought a $75,000 Lincoln Navigator. He then was deactivated from the luxury Uber Black service. Okay, so here's the timeline. He is protesting. His picture is in the paper. 2 months later, he's deactivated. Does it say what that deactivation was for? It does not. 6 months after the deactivation, supposedly, he buys a very expensive vehicle. Now, first of all, if you're buying a $75,000 Lincoln Navigator just to do rideshare, I'm sorry, but you must be a bit touched up here, because you're going to be you're going to be working long and hard just to, get that money back. Let alone just pay off the loan. But now you're not working just to pay off the loan, right? Or just to pay off the vehicle. You're working to make a living. You're working for the gas, the mileage, your time, all of that. I don't know what it takes to pay off a Navigator if that's the sole reason you bought it. Just my thoughts. Youssef was terminated from Uber solely based on his participation in the peaceful protest pursuant to his First Amendment right as a private citizen, the lawsuit claimed. Youssef said in his lawsuit that Uber said it was deactivating him for, among other transgressions, creating duplicate accounts, accepting trips without intending to complete them, or claiming false fees or charges. Unfortunately, this deactivation is permanent and irreversible. All right. So what I'm taking away from that, as far as the duplicate accounts, he was deactivated. I don't know why he was deactivated the first time, but then he went back in and created another account, and he probably did it under another name so he could get activated once again. Personally, the fact he bought a $75,000 Lincoln Navigator is totally irrelevant to this case. It doesn't matter. I don't care if he bought a $12,000 used Prius or, it doesn't matter. That is completely irrelevant. That is where I always say, we've got to lose the emotion and really just deal with the facts. What he's trying to do is stir emotion, say, oh no, this poor man, he bought this expensive vehicle, now he can't even use it, now he's on the hook for it. No, that is irrelevant. What is relevant here is, was he unduly dismissed? And it sounds to me like if he was deactivated, I don't know the reason, they don't tell the reason. I suspect there's a reason they're not telling the reason. And the reason they're not telling the reason is probably because he was deactivated with just cause. Otherwise, why would they just pass over that, right? So he got deactivated, and then he wanted to go into the, using the upper echelon, the upper tier service, the Uber Black service. So he now has another vehicle that can put him in that category. So he creates another account. Well, he was already deactivated, so he probably created an account under a different name, different email, whatever. He was caught. He was deactivated again for, what was the term they use? Creating duplicate accounts. Now, he accepted trips without intending to complete them. I wonder what that means. What does that mean? Does that mean he was just trying to get cancellation fees? What does that mean? I don't know. I always figure there's more to the story than meets the eye. Now, it probably sounds like I'm coming down on you, Seth, because to me, it sounds like there's something hinky going on. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. There was another story that I was going to read, but I think I'll hang on to it. I will read this one, which came from WebWire, because it is kind of interesting, and I would really like to hear if any of you know any further information. Firefly to offer free in-car protective film to rideshare drivers to reduce COVID-19 risks. Firefly, of course, is a company that has advertising. I'm not sure because I've never utilized them, but I think they put the electronic signs on top of the cars. Maybe there's something inside the vehicle that runs advertising, and I believe it is hooked up to some Wi-Fi so they can change it. It's not like one plastic sign that says, you know, eat at Joe's. I think it's one of them that can continually be updated. But that's irrelevant. I could be completely off base. It doesn't matter. The point is they say they're offering in-car plastic protective sheet film. I have a email into Firefly right now asking them if they can elaborate. As long as we're here, I'm going to see if I got anything back from them. As of the time of starting this cast, I have not heard back, and I have still not heard back. So I don't know if anybody's getting it or how they are getting it. But I'll tell you what, plastic sheeting doesn't cost all that much. You can go and you can buy a plastic sheeting at the hardware store, if you can find a hardware store that's open. I know Home Depot is open. I know Menards you can get into if you wear face masks, and I don't know what other hardware store you have in your area. For a couple of bucks, you can get sheet plastic. It's not that very difficult to adhere. I would buy the type that's designed for window covering because it has a two-sided tape in it. Easy to cut down the size. You can put it on your two side pillows. I haven't tried this, but I have to assume it's really, really simple. Stretch a plastic across, heat it with a hair dryer, and you're in business. Okay, maybe I'll do that as a video just to see how it works. All right, that's it for today, everybody. I hope that we got a few laughs, a little amusement, and maybe made you think a little bit. Particularly, is your car a public place? So I would love to hear your comments on this. Please like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell icon so you know when I post new videos. Thanks a bunch, everyone. I'm Mark, and this is Mark's Travel Time.